You're listening to the Bible Belt Bros podcast with my dad and his dumb friend. Enjoy.
Andrew, I think I found one of the biggest problems of the church. I found it.
Okay, you have my interest now.
People who put those church stickers on the back of their car and then drive like a freaking idiot.
That's why my wife took off her sticker.
And it's not just cutting people off, it's driving too slow. It's not merging correctly. It's like, I don't want to go to this church. If I do, I want to burn it.
I want to kill all the people that go to it. Right?
Maybe not kill everybody, but send them to heaven early.
Am I alone in that boat? Oops.
Yeah, I think that's just a terrible, terrible idea.
I agree, and I've never had one on the back of my truck for that purpose. And I try not to cut people off or speed or go too slow, but every now and then I catch myself going too slow.
I go too fast, and I probably don't cut people off, but I'm not a super aggressive driver, but it's still something. I'm not going to put my business name or because you see on Facebook all the time, like businesses being bashed for their driving. And
right.
The same, it might be not being online as much, but churches are the same way, the way people drive.
Yeah, see, somebody called our pastor on my wife. And my wife's response was, all right, I'll just go take it off then. And that's what she's done.
Well, I keep taking the sticker off my car, but my pastor keeps putting it back on.
Well, probably because your pastor owns it.
All right, well, today on the podcast, we got our friend Joe. He's a guy. He's a bro. He's got his own podcast. He's got two podcasts, actually. We've been on one of them. You might have remembered. It used to be called
Real Life?
Real Life Podcast. Now it's called Life Unfiltered. Whatever. But he started a new podcast called The God Project. And so we're going to bring him on here right now.
How's it going?
You never really checked your levels, but oh well.
No, I hope it's good. It should be good. Ish.
We're good, Joe.
All right, sweet.
So most people probably have heard you from our podcast anyways, from your journey on Life Unfiltered.
Yeah.
How'd that get started?
Just the whole podcast in general?
Yeah.
It was like July of 2015, I think. And I talked to my friend Steven and my friend Mark, and I said, dudes, we should just do a podcast where we talk about whatever we want to talk about. Just goof off, because we have so many times just hanging out with friends and stuff that we just end up cracking ourselves up to death. And, we're ending up crying, tears of joy and laughter. And then we're like, man, I wish somebody else could have heard that, because they would have thought it was so funny. And yeah, it was pretty ignorant, arrogant. But yeah, we ended up recording once, and then from that time on, it happened like 2 weeks later, and then every week from then on for the past year and a few months.
Have you always been interested in podcasting in general? Or?
For a few years, yeah. I mean, I have a certain roster of podcasts that I like, that I always go to. I'm sure everybody does.
What's that list?
Good Lord. Lately, it's been like stand-up comedians doing podcasts, not like their actual bits like they do on stage, but like they just talk about stuff.
Like the Nerdist podcast? You listen to that?
The Nerdist, because that's like an affiliate, like a network of podcasts, isn't it? Or is it the Nerdist podcast?
The Nerdist podcast.
Because I know
Chris Hardwick, I think, is the host of it. He has a lot of comedians on it.
That's not on my roster, but I'm sure it very well could be. But no, like Chris Holmes, not Chris Holmes. Who's the guy? I have his podcast and I can't remember his first name. It's something Holmes. But like Bill Burr, Joe Rogan, just stuff like that. Not so much like serious podcasts lately in the past couple months or so. Because I feel like I've gotten enough seriousness on the God Project, so it's like I need
trying to balance
a humorous output. Yeah.
Cool. I'm super into like crime podcasts, like
Serial.
Like Serial season 1 was a good one. and from then, like, there's been an explosion of just different unsolved crimes, and they're really good. I've just started one called Crime Town, and it's made by the guys HBO guys that made The Jinx, and it's just like the history of like the mob in Providence, Rhode Island, and it's really cool. It's just a storytelling. There's no mystery to it.
So is each episode a different part of the story, basically?
Yeah, just different events that have happened in just little town or area, and it's interviews with old wise guys. And so there's lots of cussing on it, so I don't promote it, but it's awesome.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's really
Crime Town.
Crime Town.
Sweet.
And so now you've got this podcast, The God Project. What's the God Project about? Because it's not anything like your current podcast.
No, it's 110% better. The God Project.
Because it's just you and not those other guys.
That's part of it. No, I'm just kidding. The God Project. The essential idea of it is asking the harder questions throughout life and faith and spirituality and all that jazz. Where we might talk about a little bit of it on Life Unfiltered every once in a while, but it's only a short discussion. It's a lot of times just filled with crass joking and stuff. So this actually gives me a chance to kind of express my thoughts and ideas and questions. Exactly like I said, like asking the tough questions, like why do we really do the things we do spiritually, and why do we believe in God, stuff like that. And so the whole thing's basically started with me asking questions and then finding out that tons and tons of other people also had the same questions. And so it's not always like the easiest journey through faith and stuff to find your perfect relationship with God or whatever, however you want to say it. It's not always that easy. So that's what this podcast is basically me asking the questions that are in my head.
And it's very well produced, I would say, especially for these little podcasts in our area. How long? Because you're not just showing up and pushing play. You're doing a lot of research and a lot of effort trying to find other people's opinions. How long does it take you currently how long have you been working on this project, I guess?
The God Project started back in March of this year. And so the first episode took me a long time just because I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, you have 2 episodes, right?
I have 2 episodes right now.
We've been working on it since March.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, too, you have to do so much pre-production. You have to do, let's say if I get 10 interviews with people, okay, it might all be the exact same questions. And I do 10 interviews, and they're all the exact same. And I have to pick through because people have different opinions and they have different views on and perspectives on things. So I have to go through and find what flows good together as far as, what part in the episode do I want to put this snippet of the interview, and which interview do I want to focus on? Because some interviews, I could have 3 out of the 10 interviews that are amazing. I can't use all 3, full interviews. So I have to figure out what I want the message of that episode to be. And so far, like I said, I started in about March recording. And I probably interviewed 10 to 15 people for each episode. And I've probably redone each episode about 3 times. And so because I had a vision for the thing, and I knew exactly what I wanted it to sound like and look like, and like visually, aesthetically, and the whole branding of the God Project, I had the perfect idea for what I wanted. And I just worked my butt off until I found that, that aesthetic that I was going for in the first place.
And you don't really have the answer, right? You're asking questions, not really knowing what the answer is going to be. And so now you're having to go through all this, trying to find, what answers do you agree with?
And line up with. It's like, what answers fit in my life, too. A lot of the people that I interview, I've had some interviews that just kind of going definitely not going to use that. Because I can't relate to it at all. I understand if it's like me being hired by a radio company or something to do a radio show, I'd kind of pander to what they were looking for. But this is my thing, and so I'm gonna try to come out with the final product that I kind of align with in some way, which is kind of what everyone does, I guess.
Yeah,
but
for us, we did the book was kind of our first season, and really I've been interested in podcasting, but I've never had anything worth value I thought I could talk about. And so we brought up the book idea and at least foster some conversations about church and everything. And so that's been kind of our journey, is just, for the last few years, I guess I've been in this transition where I used to be youth pastor, and now I'm not a youth pastor. And so I'm a volunteer at a church, and I've realized like how much I've had to use people and relied on other people's volunteer time for something I've got paid for.
Yeah.
Which brings me to your argument. The last podcast I've listened to, your Life Unfiltered, you had this huge argument with Johnny.
Yeah.
And I sided with you, and I told Johnny that, and he just said, whatever, just tell Joe you side with me or whatever. He was wanting me just to make you more mad. But
dang, Johnny.
That's the thing. I was like, I've realized so many times that I just continue to use people until they're empty, and then somebody's usually there to step up. And with your camera situation, that's kind of how I saw it. Was he's going to use they might have a long-term vision to buy a camera, but as long as they can, they're going to use it for their production, for their and really a production is trying to get more people involved in the church, which brings more money into the church. And so like I saw your point perfectly clear. Like they're going to continue to use your stuff until you can't do it anymore, and then and he has found somebody else that he could use his camera, typically.
Yep.
So,
and if you don't know what we're talking about, go back and listen. I think it's like episode 65 or 66 maybe of Life Unfiltered, and you'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah, but Mom, don't go listen to that podcast. You'll be mad at me. They use some naughty language.
Yeah, sorry. That's my fault. I've definitely got more lax. Is that an actual term? Got more lax, or is it just a short term or a short way of saying relax?
I think it's short for relaxed.
Well, I've gotten a lot more relaxed as far as the.
You just put the unfiltered in the name.
The
and
unfiltered, that's the brand now.
Yeah, my pastor walked into my work while I was listening to it, and he was like, "No."
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's funny.
Well, he just said, "You're gonna need to turn that down."
And it was probably me, wasn't it?
I think it was Johnny. Because he was pretty mad about this
employee, huh?
Yeah, he's pretty mad about the camera situation, and he got a little unfiltered as well in that podcast. So
yep.
Yeah,
no, it's fun though because we get to have those conversations, and it's kind of funny. Like people will like you texted me, and I went back and listened to it after you texted me. And it was really entertaining because I was like, oh, yeah, I remember when Johnny said that. Oh, yeah, I got him here with a zinger. Something like that. It's just entertaining to listen to. Yeah.
We needed some sound effects for that podcast.
Yeah, really.
So, I'm sorry. Off that tangent about Johnny's camera, because that was crazy. When we started Bible Belt Bros, it was more of the spiritual journey with us with the church. Has this been a spiritual journey for you with the God Project? Is it something more personal that you're trying to find the answers to, or is it more just thoughts and feelings, and that's about it?
It's kind of interesting because I thought at first that I would be asking these tough questions about God and spirituality and life and all this stuff, expecting to find the answers, but I just found out there are just more questions than I got. I didn't get a single freaking answer, and like I see it. I look back now in hindsight and realize that the idea isn't to find the answers. It's just kind of to find like what essentially kind of makes you, I guess, not happy in life, but like what makes you. I don't even know the answer. Like it's hard to, but it's it's been a spiritual journey for sure. Like right as soon as the first episode started, and the way it was, the first episode was me asking people why they believe in God. And then the second episode was why people don't believe in God who used to. And so you're getting this really unbiased, even look at the people who have been a Christian maybe their whole lives. Like I talked to a couple of pastors, and then the second episode, these people who have been Christians their whole life but are not anymore. And I'm like, there's just as much validity to that second episode, being that people kind of lose their faith. There's just as much validity in why people lose their faith than there is, just the same as people why they find their faith. And so my idea there was to value both sides and value really what people say personally. And a lot of this is on like an emotional, mental level, as far as like people's family and stuff. You know, you have so much influence growing up and stuff, and like people were hurt by their family, people are hurt by the church, and there's like a real consideration there of why they left the faith. And so that started my journey, was like kind of asking these questions, looking for the answers. Ends up I didn't find any. I'm not really any closer to God now than I was. It seems like every other day I feel like this whole thing is just bogus, and then every other day I feel like, you know, I'm on the right track. And so I think to any sort of idea or thought, it's not, if it's a legitimate thought, or let's use the word belief. If it's a legitimate belief, then it will stand up to the storms, you know, as they say, or it'll.
I'll praise you in this storm.
Yeah, I'll church you.
I will lift my head.
And see, I really cringe when I said that, because I knew it sounded like, you know, like churchy language and stuff, which I've really tried to get away from lately, but I can't, because I grew up in it. But yeah, so I've just been kind of, you know, searching for the answers that aren't even there, and it has been a spiritual journey also in the way that I see God in a totally different way now. Where 3-4 years ago, you know, I was finishing college at ORU, which is, you know, a very charismatic Christian, kind of like, you know, speak in tongues, pray for the sick, like a lot of yelling during services and stuff. Yeah, stuff like that. And they pushed that so big too, and just naturally, you know, I was in the crowd there that absorbed it, you know, and so I was really deep into like praying for the sick, and you know, this whole like church representation out in society, and, you know, representing Jesus well. And I had this huge pressure on my shoulders that if I didn't represent Jesus well, you know, just in my day-to-day life, like if I go to Starbucks or something, you know, and I walk out of there without somebody, you know, quote unquote, seeing Jesus in me or something, because that's a big quote, right? That churches use is, we need to be Jesus to people.
You're the light of the world, man.
I'm and the salt of the wound. I mean, the salt of the earth. But anyways, yeah. So I had this really kind of like messed up kind of thinking, and I really like grieved and like beat myself up when I wasn't able to be Jesus to someone. And so once I kind of graduated college and I got out of that kind of like evangelical bubble a little bit that they pushed so hard, I kind of realized that it's not all about that. Like, there's more to God than us having the responsibility to represent Him to people. And I understand the thought behind it as well. I'm sure you guys do too. I mean, it makes sense. It does. And I'm not. Are you with me? Like, you understand what I'm saying as far as representing Jesus to people and being basically what's the word? Evangelist. Do you know what I mean when I'm talking about that? Are you familiar with it?
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
And especially Dusty. I mean, Dusty was a youth pastor. He kind of had to live his life that way.
Yeah. Above reproach, as they say.
Yeah, or for me, until I got caught.
That's true, yeah.
And then that kind of all went downhill there. But now you're just a white boy with dreads and doubts, and so you went from ORU to,
The opposite.
you know, the opposite.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, too, is my personality on Life Unfiltered, it's me, Johnny, and Brad, and my personality there, I am officially now their atheist friend. Like that's my, but like it's not what I'm saying about myself. It's like I kind of take that, because I mean the podcast is a little bit of a show, you know, like we don't always interact just like that. Well, a lot of times we do, but I mean we'll make jokes about and Johnny says all the time how, or one of them says all the time that, you know, I don't believe in God or whatever, and I just play to it, you know.
It's like characters.
It's basically like a character, and honestly, I'm fine to do that. I don't feel bad about doing that because I know what I really think, you know, and it's not like my job to represent myself to other people in a certain way. It's like, people will think, if it's a Christian listening to the stinking podcast and they're like, oh, well, he should be a Christian instead. I'm just like no, like shut up, But anyways, yeah, I'm not an atheist, but I'm kind of an atheist on the podcast.
When we were looking at starting this podcast, we wanted to be two bros and an atheist, or two Christians and an atheist.
Yeah.
And so Andrew started calling his friends, being like, "Hey man, we're starting a podcast with two Christians and the atheist. You got Dusty and I as Christians. We'd love to have you on the podcast." And they'd be like, "Bro, I'm a Christian."
That's
like,
so funny.
What? You're a Christian? Like,
Really? Like that legit happened? You weren't making a joke to him or anything?
Yes. I had no idea this person was a Christian at all, and still don't think so.
Yeah, like they just said that.
We're in the Bible Belt, so it's Christian is a loosely given term for everybody's
Yeah.
Christian in a sense.
That's interesting you say that. Actually, I was thinking about this the other day. If somebody, and I'm being totally serious, if somebody asked me if I was a Christian, like I can't say yes, because there's a lot of the stuff like with the church and with just people's kind of ideas about God and the way they shape God, like as a person or as a man or whatever, however you want to say that. The way people believe that, like I can't fit into that idea.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, when people ask, like, our church, like, I saw them asking a pastor one day, he was like, what denomination are you guys? And he's like, oh, we're just followers of Jesus. I'm like, no, are you Baptist? Are you Methodist? And like, I don't want to fit in those molds that you already have your preconceived ideas of. Like, we're just followers of Jesus. And we believe multiple things from other different denominations.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the way I am now. Like people that I grew up with, and like friends and family, and they will deny anything to do with Buddha. They'll deny anything to do with like Gandhi or any teachings or practices or ideas that they present. And just because of the fact that it's another religion besides Christianity. Where if you actually look at it and be like, okay, yeah, they were talking about like inner peace here. Like inner peace is a healthy thing. It's called mental health. And so for people to kind of discount stuff like that, it's really annoying. To kind of have to defend yourself and say why you don't think Buddha or Gandhi or these other people like that are completely going to hell. You don't know.
Yeah, you don't. Like, I hope that with my upbringing and the religion that I've fallen into because of my upbringing, and I really do believe in Jesus and stuff, but at the same time, like, it's still a faith thing. I mean, sure. I hope that this is, if I grew up in China, it would be Buddha or whatever.
Yeah.
And I would probably feel the same confidence because of just everybody around me with that. So,
yeah.
I'm sure, because as a Baptist, we went through a class about the Baptist faith and message, the Baptist foundational beliefs, which is not necessarily biblical beliefs, but the denominational beliefs. And so, like, you're pretty ingrained at a young age, like, this is what you believe. And, man, like, when it came to smoking and drinking and all that kind of stuff, like, if I ever heard of I think Andrew's dad was a youth pastor. He's my Sunday school teacher. And he started telling me how he drinks, and I was like, oh my gosh, you drink beer? Like, that's so terrible, And now I, like, because a youth pastor, and I'm still, like, haven't had a drink or whatever, because people who have drinks or smoke cigars or whatever, they're heathens. And I'm like, the pastor at the church I was working at drinks and smokes cigars. Like, I was like, holy crap. And so now, like, I figured out, like, that little view was, like, super, like, I guess, aggressively, what the word is, conservative, compared to, like, almost every church in this area.
Like you're saying, the Baptist view and stuff in particular?
Yeah, and just the leadership view that I had growing up.
That's more of the backwood church, the small town church. They're more charismatic in that sense, rather than the larger churches. I mean, the larger churches seems to be more loose on the definition or on the beliefs, such as you don't drink, you don't dance, you don't speak in church, or you do speak in church. We all speak tongues. However, in my experience, actually, the backwoods church speaks more in tongues. But
Yeah, and that's strange how they find these little like nuances within their ideas and faiths and stuff that, like, yeah, if you go to like a mainstream, like the church up here on the 41st right in town, Solace Church.
Yes.
Like, you're not gonna go there and they're gonna be like yelling in tongues.
Nope.
It's gonna be the smaller ones. That's interesting. I don't even know if I answered your question.
Did Dusty even have a question there?
I don't know if I had a question.
Oh, maybe we were
I was
just talking.
Just talking about how just your worldview or your life view just changes as you go along.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up with this one belief, and then I get to this certain point in my life, and I realize very few people have this belief.
Sure.
But now, if you stayed in that small hometown, would you still have that belief?
I don't know. Maybe.
Because that's all you would be surrounded by.
Right.
But now, since you moved to a larger
I didn't
city,
have
you
like a drink of
bigger
alcohol
influence.
until I was 24, 25. I mean, I was for the wrong reasons at that point, but
Heathen.
and well, it's your fault. You're the one that pressured me, bro. you're the one that had
welcome.
the alcohol. I'd never bought anything.
Dang,
before.
peer pressure.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
I opened your eyes.
You're that atheist sinning
Yeah.
friend.
That's right.
he was my sinning
That
friend.
drug Dusty down to the pits. But yeah, like what you're saying about smoking and drinking and cussing, all that stuff. Those are the way I think about that, because I have thought about all this before. Just wrestling through everything. There I go again, church language, wrestling with things. I gotta wrestle with God. Like when you're younger, ideas are very simple and vague, and then as you get older, you kind of dig into those ideas. So even for adults in church now, smoking and drinking and cussing and other religions and pornography and stuff like all those things, they're big simple things that we could look at and label them all as a sin to stay away from them. And that's kind of the way that we are growing up with these simple ideas. Like your parents love you, you love your parents. Like, that's all. Like, you don't dig into why you love them or anything like that. And then when they do something to hurt you, you still love them 10 minutes later as a kid. But as you get older, things kind of get complicated. You learn that maybe your dad cheated on your wife or something. Or
Whoa.
your dad cheated on his wife, on your mom, or something like that, and then you actually, you call into question why you actually love him, and do you love him still? Stuff like that.
And then beliefs that he's brought you up believing.
Exactly.
Now I'm like, wait a minute.
Right. And so as you get older, I think it's a healthy thing to question and kind of press those beliefs that you've had, because if I kind of said it earlier, if that belief is legit, then it'll stand the test of time. Like, it'll stand stuff being pushed against it. That's why people have premarital counseling. Like, the idea of premarital counseling is to give you every reason not to get married. If you make it through counseling, then you have a better chance of getting married. But if you're a good counselor, well, okay, hold on. I know, Dustin.
Okay, I've been married twice.
Okay.
So nice, I tried it twice, but the first time I had 2 premarital counseling sessions and they still didn't work out.
So you guys got through them fine.
Yeah, there were 2 different styles. But I mean, most of it was just a sin issue. Like, I just hadn't grown up yet. I was too young. Hadn't dealt with my.
And I don't mean to say that flippantly either, because I'm not married. But I've heard therapists and counselors and stuff say personally that their idea of when they counsel people is to actually put them through some tests and see how they react together before they get married.
Mhm.
That's what I meant. I didn't mean to say that as like a big broad stroke there, but
I think some of it depends on the counselor, though.
Sure.
Like, some of the counselors, you just kind of listen. Like, there's principles. The forgive and forget. Like, couples tend to, fight about something, and then instead of solving it and forgiving, they'll like kind of keep it back there for more armor
and it'll
or
come up
ammunition later. Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're having a fight because somebody didn't throw the trash away, and then you get divorced because of all the other stuff that come up in that argument.
And it
with the
wasn't
fight.
really because of the trash. You're
Exactly.
not fighting because of the trash. You're fighting from all this repressed stuff.
Not that I ever have arguments with the trash not getting taken out. JK, that's mine. I forget. I have the forgetting issue. I just forget the things I don't want to do. Wait, let's be honest.
Oh, how convenient. It's like when you're a kid, your mom asks you to clean your room. You're like, oh, I don't remember you saying that. Like it's like selective hearing.
Yeah.
All right, Dusty, we're at our 30-minute mark,
Oh gosh.
so it's time to wrap this up.
It's like
We're staying on track this season. Because
like my
last
mom.
season we went anywhere from 20 minutes to like an hour and 15
You
minutes.
should start flicking the light switch when we get to the
Yeah.
like 5-minute mark.
Hopefully none of our seizures are epileptic. Or seizures. None of our guests are epileptic.
There you go. There you go. All right, well, Joe, man, this has been awesome. I encourage everybody to check out the God Project. Where can they find that?
A lot of places right now, actually. Not iTunes yet. Well, I don't know when this is planning on coming out, actually. It might be on iTunes, like, from now in the next couple months. So
Okay.
I'm not sure when you guys are planning on releasing this.
January.
But, okay. So, yeah, just go to soundcloud.com /GodProjectPod. And, like, everything social media, like Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and stuff, is all God Project Pod.
Is it the God Project or just God Project?
The thing itself is called the God Project, but all my like handles and stuff are God Project Pod.
Okay.
So yeah.
Sweet. Well, we'll pray for you, brother.
Oh,
Sure.
thanks, man. I
As you can-
I received that.
You receive that?
Yeah, I received.
Andrew, do you echo that? that prayer?
I received you guys pouring into.
Whoa, now.
Whoa.
Hey,
Leave that for
Hey,
Life
That-
Unfiltered.
yeah, that's your Life Unfiltered
Pastor said
podcast.
it. Pastor said it. I heard it.
All right, take it easy, guys.